All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely tear down all that fluff and those corporate buzzwords that just constantly clutter up the business world. Forget the empty motivational slogans, and let's go ahead and toss out those incredibly vague vision statements. We're going to look at what actually separates real, world-shifting strategy from just, empty ambition. We're talking about the true essence of strategy, which is the discovery of power.
Okay, let's dive into this. It is so incredibly common to confuse strategy with success, or maybe just with having a really big, audacious goal. But a truly good strategy honestly acknowledges the hard challenges you're facing and provides a concrete approach to actually overcoming them. It's not just about wanting to win, right? It's about figuring out exactly how to win by applying strength against weakness. Or even better, finding a completely new source of strength you didn't even know was there.
And that brings us straight to the core concept of this explainer, asymmetry. Now, asymmetry isn't just a mismatch. It is the creation or the revelation of a decisive advantage through a complete shift in viewpoint. This is the ultimate discovery of power. It's like looking at a giant puzzle, reframing it entirely in your mind, and suddenly finding that one magic pivot point that just multiplies your effectiveness. To prove this is a universal battle plan, here is our roadmap. Number 1, the illusion of strength. 2, David's lethal asymmetry. 3, Walmart's hidden network. 4, the Cold War pivot. And finally, 5, finding your own pivot point. Starting right off with part 1, the illusion of strength, and part 2, David's lethal asymmetry, we are traveling all the way back to 1030 BC to look at the ultimate underdog story. Picture it. 2 massive armies are facing off, and a giant steps forward to challenge the ranks. On paper, the conventional wisdom of this famous battle paints a really clear picture. Honestly, it's no contest. You've got Goliath. He is over 9 feet tall, covered in heavy bronze armor, carrying a massive spear, and he's highly experienced and unbelievably strong. And then you have David, small, inexperienced, literally just a shepherd boy. According to the conventional metrics of ancient close combat warfare, Goliath has this unbeatable illusion of strength. The natural instinct here is to try and match that strength, to put David in heavy armor too. And in the story, King Saul actually tries to do exactly that. But here is where the strategy totally shifts. David actually discarded the heavy bronze armor. Why? Well, aside from probably not even being able to walk in this stuff, playing Goliath's game was a guaranteed loss. So, David shifted his viewpoint. His hidden advantages were his youthful quickness and his years of experience with a shepherd's sling. He traded heavy armor and close combat for speed and ranged precision. He realized that matching Goliath's armor would only slow him down. As it's been said, it is the victory of apparent weakness over apparent strength. When David's slung stone struck Goliath's exposed forehead, he didn't just wield power, he discovered it. He created a decisive asymmetry. By delivering force with absolute precision over a distance, he completely neutered Goliath's supposed advantages of size and heavy armor. He saw a fatal weakness that everyone else just ignored. Moving on to part 3, Walmart's hidden network, shifting the unit of management. Let's transition from ancient battlefields to the ridiculously fast-paced, cutthroat world of 1980s retail to find that exact same discovery of power. Back then, Walmart was the David, and Kmart was the Goliath. And the established industry rule, basically the conventional wisdom that protected giant competitors, was this. A full-line discount store absolutely needs a population base of at least 100,000 people to survive. This was the iron logic of fixed and variable costs. You just needed a ton of customers to spread the overhead. So Kmart felt entirely safe, because they figured Walmart was just putting big stores in small towns and would eventually hit a brick wall. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how Sam Walton completely broke that conventional wisdom. He didn't just build stores. He fundamentally shifted the entire unit of management. Kmart treated the individual store as this standalone entity, totally decentralized, where local managers pick their own vendors and set their own prices. But Sam Walton redefined what a store even meant. For Walmart, the unit of management was the network itself. They had a regional network of 150 stores, completely connected by data and distribution hubs, effectively serving a population of millions altogether. And this brilliantly illustrates the massive asymmetry that resulted. Kmart's decentralized philosophy meant they had highly fragmented logistics and totally isolated data. Amazingly, when revolutionary barcode scanners first came out, Kmart literally just used them to avoid changing price stickers. That's it. But Walmart, they used a satellite-based system to feed all that barcode data straight back to synchronized distribution hubs and treat it instantly with suppliers. They were essentially treating 150 different stores as one giant, tightly integrated operating unit. This right here is what we call a coherent design. The barcodes, the integrated inbound logistics, the frequent just-in-time deliveries, running large stores with surprisingly low inventory, these weren't just random, disconnected best practices. They were deeply complementary policies. They fit perfectly together to totally neuter Kmart's massive size advantage. I mean, Kmart couldn't just copy the barcode scanners. They would have had to completely abandon their entire decentralized philosophy to even compete. Walmart's hidden network was their slingstone. All right, part 4, the Cold War pivot, imposing asymmetric costs. Let's move to our third arena and see how this all applies to global geopolitics in the 1970s. Obviously, the stakes are quite a bit higher here. We're talking about the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. Up until 1976, the conventional U.S. defense strategy was basically a budget-driven balance of forces. The Soviets would build a weapon, and the U.S. would spend a bunch of money to counter it. It was constantly conditioning U.S. actions on Soviet strengths. But then, a strategy document by Andy Marshall and James Roche completely flipped the script. They proposed an entirely new way to look at the competition, a really massive shift in viewpoint. Just listen to this quote from their strategy document. They wrote that the U.S. needed a strategy of engaging in actions that imposed exorbitant costs on the other side. This was incredibly profound. They took the focus away from just matching pure military capability, and they turned the whole thing into an asymmetric economic battle. Their goal was to use specific U.S. strengths to relentlessly exploit Soviet weaknesses. To pull this off, they carefully diagnosed the Soviet constraints. The USSR at that time was incredibly vulnerable. They had a closed system that desperately lacked access to Western technology. Their war in Afghanistan was severely draining both their money and their political support. On top of that, low global oil prices were denying them crucial foreign exchange. In short, the Soviet economy was vastly overextended. They simply couldn't afford a spending war, and definitely not one fought in the realm of high technology. So Marshall and Roche developed this brilliant tactical playbook. Step 1. Leverage the massive U.S. advantage in technology and resources. Step 2. Invest in cutting-edge technologies that were relatively cheap for the U.S. to produce, but incredibly expensive for the Soviets to defend against. Things like drastically increasing the accuracy of missiles or engineering super-quiet submarines. Step 3. Force the USSR to spend their incredibly scarce resources trying to counter these advancements without actually increasing the offensive threat to the U.S. It was the absolute discovery of hidden power. They were bankrupting a system by imposing asymmetric costs. Which brings us to our final section, Part 5, Finding Your Pivot Point and Applying this playbook to your world. So, the crucial point is this. Whether you're a shepherd boy facing a giant, a regional discount retailer taking on a national chain, or a global superpower navigating the Cold War, the foundational architecture of great strategy is exactly the same. You have to find the hidden power in your own situation. First, reject the conventional wisdom. Just because everyone else is strapping on heavy bronze armor, or totally decentralizing their stores, or trying to match their rival dollar for dollar, doesn't mean you should do it too. Second, shift your viewpoint. Look at the board entirely differently to reveal new strengths. And third, design your actions to impose asymmetric costs on your obstacles. You want to make your competitors play a game they simply aren't equipped for. And this leaves us with the ultimate question for you to take away from this explainer today. I want you to look closely at the absolute biggest obstacle in your path right now. Don't look at where they are strong. Look at the whole system. Where is the hidden asymmetry just waiting for you to discover it? Find your pivot point, and you just might change the world.